Welcome back to the deep dive, where we take these truly colossal stacks of documentation, often messy, always dense, and try to pull out what you really need to know.
And the stack we have today is, well, it's a beast. This is unlike anything we've tackled recently.
Yeah, it's not a straight line, is it?
Not at all. We're unwrapping a financial and criminal conspiracy that was deliberately buried under layers of ego and, fake success.
It starts in one place, a sexual harassment lawsuit, and then just metastasizes.
Exactly. It spreads into large-scale charity fraud, serious organized crime, money laundering, and then ultimately a double homicide. It's a complete maze.
So our mission today is really to be your guides through this Byzantine dossier. We're going to trace the lines connecting these crimes and show you exactly how one man's desperation to keep up a false image led to a total moral collapse.
And it all begins with a personal favor.
A really complex one. It was requested by a close friend of the investigator, a woman named Susan, and it was about her ex-husband, Brad Sterling.
And we should probably get the cast of characters straight right from the top because you'll need to keep track of them.
Good idea.
So first, you have Brad Sterling. He's our main subject, the source of all the confusion. Then there's Susan, the friend. She's a psychologist, and she's the one who gets this whole thing rolling.
And she has key insights into who Sterling really is.
Right. Then our first antagonist, if you want to call him that, is Francis Ronan, a powerful, high-ego lawyer whose reaction to this whole thing is a massive red flag from the start.
And then we get to the real power players hiding in the background.
The really dangerous ones. Haskell Wechsler, a notorious loan shark, and Richard Gavin, a polished corporate lawyer who's the bridge between Sterling's world and, well, the underworld.
Okay, so the whole thing kicks off with a massive contradiction. It's the first thread we have to pull on.
It is. Is Brad Sterling, this successful businessman, being unfairly targeted, which is his story? Or is he, as his ex-wife Susan insists, completely broke and on the verge of ruin?
One of them has to be lying, and we need to figure out which one. Hashtag tag I, the client, the favor, and the conflicting narratives.
Okay, so let's unpack that first meeting with Brad Sterling. Because the stage he sets is, it's key to his whole scam.
Right. The detective shows up to meet him, and Sterling is putting on a real performance.
A total performance. He's projecting what the source calls Ivy League old money WASP goofiness.
That's such a specific description.
It is, isn't it? And all the details are there to back it up. The steel gray hair, meticulously styled. He's got a good tan in March,
A tan in March, right. So he's either been on vacation or he wants you to think he's been on vacation.
Exactly. And he's in this perfect gray pinstripe suit, sitting in a corner office way, way up on the 33rd floor of the Prudential building. It's all about status.
And the stuff in the office, too. It's not just an office. It's like a shrine to this persona he's built.
A curated shrine is the perfect way to put it. You've got Harvard football memorabilia everywhere, a helmet, a framed varsity letter.
I think there was even a chair with the Harvard seal on it.
There was. He's leaning so heavily on this past, this image of prestige. It's an immediate signal that, for this guy, appearance is everything.
But that image immediately clashes with what Susan, his ex-wife, has been saying.
Completely. She's telling the detective that he is financially on the verge of dissolution. That's her clinical psychological assessment of his finances.
And she says he can't even afford a proper lawyer for this lawsuit.
Right. But when the detective, gently brings this up with Sterling,
he just brushes it off.
Completely dismisses it. He gestures around his fancy office and says he could easily pay any judgment. He claims Susan has always been a little dramatic.
It just shows how committed he is to the lie. Why would you push away the one person who's trying to help you for free?
Because for Sterling, admitting he's broke is like admitting his whole identity as a fraud. It would tear down the entire life his father wanted for him. The facade is his armor.
Which brings us to why the detective is even there. This isn't a normal case.
No, not at all. He's taking it on pro bono. It's a direct favor to Susan.
And the dossier is pretty clear this isn't just a friendly favor.
It's not. It was part of an intimate, personal agreement between them. So the detective has a very personal stake in seeing this through, which becomes really important when things get dangerous.
Okay, so let's look at the case itself. The sexual harassment suit.
Right. The thing that kicks this all off. Sterling's being sued by 4 women. It all stems from this big charity fundraiser he ran, an event called Gallapalooza.
And his defense is just, it's almost comically arrogant, isn't it?
It is. He basically says, yeah, I flirted a bit, I was kidding around. He told these volunteers they look good, but he's adamant he never touched anyone.
He just cannot grasp that you don't have to physically touch someone to create a hostile environment.
For him, it's black and white. Did I touch them? No. Case closed. It's a startlingly simplistic view.
So who's the main person suing him?
The lead plaintiff is a woman named Jeanette Ronan. And here's the first big complication. She's married to Francis Ronan. Not just any lawyer. Francis Ronan is a legend in Massachusetts legal circles. The dossier calls him a dragon.
A dragon.
Yeah, a high-ego, feared criminal defense attorney who is known for one thing: winning. Doesn't matter if his client is guilty or not, he wins.
So what happens when the detective tries to talk to Jeanette?
It gets shut down immediately.
Yeah.
And not with a polite letter. Francis Ronan personally intervenes with violent intimidation.
We're talking direct threats.
Oh, yeah. He tells the detective he's a lightweight who could be squished like an insect.
Okay, that's a massive overreaction for a civil suit.
It's a huge flashing neon sign. Right?
Yeah.
Why would a lawyer of his stature risk making a recorded explicit threat like that? It's wildly out of proportion.
It tells you the lawsuit isn't really what this is about.
Exactly. It's a shield or a distraction. Ronan is trying to bury something catastrophic, and he's willing to burn his own reputation to do it.
He's not trying to win a case. He's trying to stop an investigation before it even starts.
And that, of course, is the one thing that guarantees the detective is going to dig much, much deeper.
So the detective's next move is to figure out which version of Brad Sterling is real. The corner office version or the Brooke version.
Right. And it doesn't take long to confirm. He finds Sterling's actual home. And it's not some penthouse in Back Bay.
It's a humble second-floor walk-up in Brighton.
Exactly. Which confirms Susan was right all along. The guy's broke. He's living in a place that's a world away from that 33rd floor facade.
That contrast really is the perfect metaphor for his entire life, isn't it? The polished Harvard helmet in the office versus the reality of a small apartment.
It is. But that small apartment is where the whole case breaks wide open.
The physical evidence.
That's right. The detective is searching the place and finds, hidden in a shoebox under the bed, a trove of evidence.
What's in the box?
Handwritten letters.
Oh.
And nude photographs.
Addressed to Sterling. From who?
From Jeanette Ronan.
The lead plaintiff. The woman suing him for creating a sexually hostile environment.
The very same one. And the details here are they're almost comical. The letters were written in bright purple ink on lavender stationery.
Purple ink. Lavender stationery. I mean, that doesn't exactly scream hostile environment, does it?
Not in the slightest.
Oh.
And here's the absolute smoking gun.
The timing.
The timing. Some of this material, the letters, the photos, was dated after the date of the alleged harassment.
So she's claiming he created a hostile environment and then sending him affectionate letters and photos afterwards.
Right. And as the detective realizes instantly, no woman who is genuinely harassed would ever do that. You wouldn't risk having proof of an ongoing, affectionate relationship surface in the middle of your own lawsuit.
The whole suit is a fraud.
A complete fraud.
Okay.
And this evidence gives the detective total leverage over the dragon, Francis Ronan, the man who just threatened his life.
Which leads to this incredible, almost theatrical confrontation.
It really is. Ronan, when he's confronted with the proof of the affair, he breaks. He confesses everything.
He found one of Sterling's love letters to his wife.
Yes, and he was terrified. The source material explains he has this deep insecurity, and Jeanette is much younger than him, so she spun him a story.
She convinced him the letter was part of the harassment, that Sterling was pursuing her.
Exactly. And Ronan, because he loved her so much and because his ego couldn't handle the thought of her cheating, he chose to believe it. He needed to believe she was the victim.
So he filed the lawsuit to make the lie real?
He admitted it himself. He recruited the other women to join the suit to make the story seem official, to make it believable to himself. He was using the legal system as therapy.
That is just stunning.
So he apologizes to the detective, completely humbled, and drops the entire lawsuit on the spot. A legendary lawyer brought down by his own insecurity and a box of purple love letters.
So with the harassment suit gone, the initial reason for the investigation has vanished.
It's gone. It was a complete fabrication, a massive distraction designed to protect Ronan's marriage. And that frees the detective up to focus on what he suspected was the real problem all along, the money. He pivots right back to Gallapalooza and the funds that seem to have disappeared.
Right, because even if the harassment was fake, the event was real. And a lot of money was raised.
A ton of money. But the deep dive into the event's finances confirms what Susan suspected from the start. It was a black hole for the actual charities it was supposed to benefit.
He starts interviewing the directors of these small, legitimate nonprofits, right? Aid support groups, homeless shelters.
Hospices, all these really vulnerable, essential organizations.
Yeah.
And they all tell him the same thing.
They got zip.
Zip. Nothing. In fact, some of them said the event actually hurt them because the regular donors gave to Galapalooza instead, and that money just vanished.
There's a quote in the dossier that's just heartbreaking.
I know the one you mean. Way down below here where we work, it really doesn't matter if they were inept or dishonest. We don't get money, people die.
That just reframes everything, doesn't it? This isn't just some white-collar accounting mistake. This is life and death.
It is. But all the missing money seems to have gone to one place. The one major beneficiary listed in the event's paperwork.
An organization called Civil Streets.
Right. On paper, it's a counseling and adjustment service for former inmates.
Sounds noble enough.
It does. But when the detective goes to the address listed in Stoneham,
There's nothing there.
nothing. An empty, cleaned-out office. It was just a mail drop. A shell company.
And who's running this ghost charity?
The president of Civil Streets is a woman named Carla Quagliozzi. And it turns out she's Brad Sterling's third ex-wife.
Of course she is. It all comes back to Sterling.
And Carla, in turn, is linked to a director of the charity, a lawyer named Richard Gavin. And that's a name that is about to become far, far more dangerous than Francis Ronan ever was. #Tag3, organized crime, double crosses, and threats of violence.
So the second the detective starts asking questions about Civil Streets and Carla, the whole atmosphere changes.
It absolutely does. The threats escalate from, a lawyer's bluster to very real physical danger.
This is where they realize they've crossed a line. This isn't just about charity fraud anymore.
No, it's clearly tied to organized crime. And we see two very different levels of intimidation deployed to shut this down.
First comes the amateur hour.
Right, these two generic sluggers. The dossier describes them as a tall, fat man and a shorter, muscular guy named Bullet.
Bullet. Okay.
They show up at the detective's office, offer a ridiculously small bribe. What was it, $500?
$500 and a threat of a bad beating.
They're easily chased off, but it's a signal. Someone is getting nervous.
But the second encounter is something else entirely.
Oh, yeah. This is where it gets terrifying, because it's sophisticated. This is when Richard Gavin, the lawyer from Civil Streets, steps in himself.
He's not a slugger.
No, he's sharp, he's professional, well-dressed, but his message is absolutely lethal.
He meets the detective, and the bribe is much bigger this time.
$5,000 in cash. A serious step up. But it's the threat that comes with it that really changes the game.
He doesn't mess around, does he?
No, he just says it outright. Stop investigating Civil Streets. And when asked why, he says, because you could get killed if you don't.
It's an explicit death threat from a lawyer.
And from someone who clearly knows the circles he's operating in, this is the moment it's confirmed. This isn't a charity scam anymore. This is major organized crime. Money laundering.
And that connection becomes crystal clear right after that when Gavin is seen meeting with someone.
The true power player, Haskell Wechsler.
Tell us about Wechsler.
Wechsler is notorious. He's a powerful loan shark, but he operates outside the traditional mob families. This is high-stakes lending. The dossier says his rate is 10% interest per week.
Per week? That's insane.
It's astronomical. So he's handling huge amounts of illicit cash. And Richard Gavin, the smooth corporate lawyer, is his connection. He's the bridge between Wechsler's underworld operation and Sterling's fraudulent charity.
And as soon as that connection is made, things turn deadly.
Immediately, the investigation is getting too close to Wechsler's money, and the response is swift, and it is brutal.
We get the first homicide.
Coney Brown, a known shooter with a long criminal record. He's found shot to death inside Brad Sterling's locked office.
And the connection. Brown was a former client of Richard Gavin.
A direct line. The victim, the mob lawyer, and the office of our missing subject, Brad Sterling. It's all connected.
And Sterling himself is gone. Vanished.
Which suggests he fled the scene. The medical examiner later confirms the ballistics from the bullet that killed Brown matches the gun from the second murder.
But the key thing from that crime scene isn't what was there, it's what was missing.
Exactly. The office is a mess, but the killer only took one thing, a blue computer disk.
And the detective immediately suspects this disk is the ledger.
A whole thing. The
Yeah.
complete records of the money laundering operation. Who paid what, where it went, everything. It's the key to bringing the whole thing down.
Which leads us to the second murder, which is even more horrifying.
It is. Carla Quagliozzi, the president of Civil Streets, Sterling's ex-wife, is found dead in her home, shot in the head.
But it's what the killer did to her that sends the real message.
It's a chilling, unequivocal statement. Her tongue was cut out and taken from the scene.
It's a message.
It's the oldest message there is in that world, isn't it? Keep quiet. It implies Carla, who ran the shell company, was about to talk.
So you've got two murders, a missing prime suspect in Sterling, and a missing disc that holds all the evidence.
It's now a manhunt for a desperate man. Sterling is no longer just a con artist. He's a double murderer who holds the one piece of evidence that could destroy Wechsler and Gavin. #shadowy. The unmasking of Brad Sterling. Silverman.
Okay, so with two people dead, the focus has to shift entirely to the mechanics of the crime. What was the scheme that caused so much violence?
Right. We have to unravel the money laundering operation and Sterling's fatal role in it.
And it all started with his desperation for cash. As Susan told us, he was broke.
Completely. He'd burned through every legitimate option. His own sister, Nancy, had cut him off. So he does what he always does.
He turns to his ex-wife.
Exactly. He goes to Carla, his third ex-wife, who connects him with her associate, Richard Gavin.
And Gavin sees an opportunity in Sterling.
A perfect opportunity. He knows Sterling can put on a big, flashy, high-profile event that will bring in a lot of cash. So he presents him to Haskell Wechsler.
Who has a lot of dirty cash from his loan sharking that needs to be cleaned.
Right. So let's just break down how you use a charity event to launder money, because it's deceptively simple.
A big gala like Gallapalooza would get tons of cash donations, right? Anonymous donors, people wanting tax write-offs. It's not like a corporation with strict oversight.
That's the key. So Wechsler gives his dirty cash to Sterling. That cash gets mixed in with all the clean, legitimate donations from the event. It all goes into one big pot.
So you can't tell which dollar came from where.
Precisely. Then, that big pot of money is funneled through the dummy charity, Civil Streets, which is run by Carla.
From there, the money can be paid back out to Wechsler or his other shell companies, but now it has a paper trail.
A clean paper trail. Now it looks like charitable proceeds or administrative expenses. The cash is officially washed. It's clean.
But Sterling's big fatal flaw was his greed.
Always. He just couldn't resist skimming. So he pays back the money he owes Gavin and Wechsler for the laundering service.
But he pockets all the rest.
Yeah.
The actual profits that were supposed to go to the real charities.
And that skim, that one act of petty greed, is what brought the whole house of cards down.
Because the legitimate charities started complaining.
They complained they got zip, and that got the attention of the Attorney General's office. The AG opens an inquiry into Gallapalooza's finances.
And even if they're just looking at charity regulations, an official inquiry is going to expose the whole money trail.
Everything. From Wechsler's loan sharking all the way through Civil Streets. Yeah. The minute the AG got involved, the entire multi-million-dollar operation was at risk.
So Wechsler and Gavin panic. They realize Sterling's little skim is about to bring them all down.
They need their money back, and more importantly, they need the evidence. They need that blue disc.
So they send their guy, Coney Brown, to Sterling's office to get it.
And Sterling, who is always armed and now completely cornered, shoots Brown dead and runs. He runs with the disc.
He has the one thing that implicates everyone.
He does. And that explains the first murder. But the murder of Carla is even more. It's more personal and more chilling.
Because after all this, after he's killed someone and is on the run from the mob, where does he go?
He follows his pattern. He goes straight to Susan, his first wife, looking for money and protection.
But Susan has changed.
She has. Through her own therapy and her relationship with the detective, she's finally ready to break that pattern. She confronts him. She refuses to help him.
And then she tells him something that just shatters him.
She tells him she never liked him.
And that's what breaks him. His whole facade just crumbles.
It does. He confesses everything. He admits he killed Coney Brown in the office. And then he confesses to killing Carla.
And his reason is just, it's pure narcissism, isn't it?
It's unbelievable. He says Carla was going to go to the police and expose him. And he says it in, this source calls it, an eerily adolescent whine. He says, Carla, my wife, was supposed to help me.
He genuinely believes everyone in the world exists only to support his success, even after he's dragged them into a murder plot.
It's a complete moral vacuum. And the tongue, cutting out her tongue.
It was a message.
Sterling admits it was a desperate piece of theater. It was a message for Gavin and Wechsler. He was trying to tell them, look, I've silenced the threat. I'm still in control.
A twisted, barbaric attempt to reassure the very people he double-crossed.
And in the end, as he's confessing, The detective recovers the blue disc from him. He had it on him the whole time.
So that's it. The whole empire of lies and violence just collapses. Sterling's a fugitive, sure, but the confession, the disc, the ballistics, he's done.
So now that the criminal plot is resolved, we can finally dig into the psychology here, which is just as fascinating. We can really look at what drove Sterling's decisions, and just as importantly, Susan's journey.
Right, Susan's epiphany is a huge part of this story. The dossier, referencing her sessions with her own counselor, Dr. Hilliard, explains why this smart, professional woman kept choosing these deeply flawed men.
It's the core question, isn't it? And the answer, as it so often does, goes back to her childhood.
She realized she was subconsciously drawn to men who were imperfect, men she could either save or reject, because that sense of control made her feel safe.
And she traces it back to her parents. She had a nervous mother and this very powerful, complex father. And she felt like she always had to protect her mother from her father.
So she learned to see overwhelming strength or goodness as a threat.
Exactly. She internalized this belief that she had to stop her father from getting her, from overwhelming her with his love or control. So for her, a good, complete man was dangerous.
And that fear carried over into her adult relationships.
Directly. The source material says she feared being gotten by a man who was more powerful and good and complete. And who does that sound like?
The detective.
The detective. So she actively sought out men like Sterling, men who were obviously inadequate because their weakness meant she would always have the upper hand. She'd always retreat to safety by rejecting them.
So the rough patch in her relationship with the detective when this case started was that internal battle.
It was her struggling between that old familiar pattern of trying to save the broken man, Sterling, and actually committing to a healthy, authentic relationship where she wasn't in control of someone's flaws.
And seeing Sterling's pathetic confession, hearing him whine about how Carla was supposed to help him, that was the moment it finally broke.
It was. She rejected not just him, but that entire flawed way of living. She reclaims her own agency and realizes her future is about authentic acceptance, not rescue missions.
And then you contrast that powerful breakthrough with the absolute tragedy of Brad Sterling's life.
It's a perfect contrast. His entire downfall comes from this lifelong obsession with maintaining the all-Ivy League success persona.
Which wasn't even his own dream, was it? It was inherited from his father.
Completely. His father drilled into him that being a success in America was to join the Yankees. It was this metaphor for reaching the absolute top, the most visible peak of success no matter what it cost you personally.
And Sterling wasn't even his real name. His birth name is Silverman. It's just another layer of his inauthenticity.
Right. So he spent his whole life trying to be Brad Sterling. And that pressure meant he could never, ever admit he was in trouble. He wouldn't hire a lawyer. He wouldn't sell things to pay his debts.
He just kept doubling down on the lies, on the skimming.
Because the terror of abandoning that identity, of failing the mission his father gave him, was worse than anything else. He chose violence. He chose murder. All because he couldn't admit he was broke.
He would literally rather be a killer on the run than be a financial failure.
The identity wasn't just a mask for him. In the end, it was a lethal trap. #tag outro.
It's truly astonishing when you step back and see the full domino effect. It starts with a lie about a marriage and ends in a triple death tragedy.
Yeah, let's just quickly review the key takeaways from this whole deep dive.
Okay, so first thing, the sexual harassment suit that started it all.
A complete and total fabrication. It was just a cynical cover story cooked up by Francis Ronan to protect his own ego after he found out his wife was cheating on him.
All because of those purple ink letters.
All because of the purple ink. Second, the big, glitzy Galapalooza charity event.
It was just a cog in a criminal machine. A front for laundering Haskell Wechsler's loan sharking money through that shell company, Civil Streets.
Right. And finally, the murders of Coney Brown and Carla Quagliozzi. They weren't mob hits.
No, they were the direct result of Brad Sterling's own petty greed and desperation. His last horrifying act, cutting out Carla's tongue, was just a twisted piece of theater for the mobsters he was cheating.
And so the final status of everyone is pretty clear. Brad Sterling is a fugitive, but with his confession to Susan and that blue disc, he'll be caught and charged with 2 murders.
Ronan is humbled, and Gavin and Wechsler are now directly in the crosshairs of a major investigation, thanks to those recovered financial records.
You know, this case is such a profound study in the corrosive cost of faking an identity. It all started because Brad Sterling felt he had to project this myth of success that his father forced on him.
And the line between pretending to be rich and being genuinely bad just completely collapsed.
It did, the moment that lie got tangled up with organized crime and money meant for dying people.
Which leaves us with a final thought for you, something to mull over after this dive into deceit and desperation. And it's this. What immense hidden price might you be paying to maintain an image of who you think you should be, rather than having the courage and the integrity to accept who you genuinely are?
Thank you for joining us on the deep dive.
We'll see you next time.